This podcast is brought to you by the Texas Hill Country River region in Uvalde County. What's super unique about this area is that the Frio, Nueces, and Sabinal rivers are all located in the same county. It's like the hill country that you know and love, just more rural, so you're surrounded with wildlife, and life just kind of slows down out here, so you can really enjoy the simple pleasures like camping, fishing, and just enjoying the company of the people that you love.
For more information, go to visituvaldecounty.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the episode of the In Between Podcast. I'm Jake.
And I'm Leah. And that's Luna. Is she awake? Oh, I thought I heard her cry.
Nope. Don't jinx us, but I imagine she's going to wake up any minute now. So I'll have to step away real quick and
grab her.
I'll bring her, get her set up. So who do we have?
Okay, I am so excited. Today we have the Texas landlady, Jada Jo Smith. I have been wanting to have you on here. I've just been wanting to hang out with you. Today I told Jake I just want to be her friend. Like, I want to be her friend.
That's funny because I had the same feeling. It was like, man, when am I going to get to hang out with them? Or like coordinate a family date or something.
Yeah. So we're so excited that you're here. I think you're a woman of many hats, but I think one of the hats that you wear is you're a real estate agent with Orange Blossom Realty. And one of the things that really, because I don't know everything about you, but one of the things that really stuck out to you was the only conversation we had prior to today, where you were talking about real estate and conservation. And that concept blew my mind. I've never heard of a real estate agent who is also like very, very passionate about protecting the land that they sell and protecting the environment in which they live and work and play. So all of that, I was like, we have to have her. So I'm glad you're here. Who are you? What are you? What did I leave out?
Yeah. Well, if you can back up and I guess talk about how you got started.
And how you got to Utopia.
How you got to Utopia. Yeah, because you're based out of Utopia, Texas.
Mm-hmm. So I think if we talk about getting started, it would go all the way back to my childhood.
Yeah.
I grew up on an organic farm, which was Orange Blossom Farm. So everybody constantly asked me, where did the name Orange Blossom come from? Well, it was my family farm. And whenever I started my own company, I thought, what better legacy to continue than what my parents had started? And that's all coupled with their organic farmers. So I grew up with a love of the land and land stewardship. So that is the whole foundation of my real estate business. And I feel like it is kind of awkward or weird or different that real estate professionals will think of it from a stewardship perspective, but I feel like that's what the whole purpose is. You know, we're in this to help protect the land that we all love. And so that's kind of what got me into the real estate industry, is to just kind of be a part of the beauty that we see around us every day. When I got started in real estate back in 2006 was when I first started. And then, of course, to be an agent, you have to work for a broker. So I worked for other brokers until I went back to school and got my all the credentials I needed to get my broker's license, took the board exams. Then it was, now what? Start my own brokerage. So that's when Orange Blossom essentially blossomed. And we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary this past October. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah. It really has grown to be something beautiful that I'm very proud of. And so Utopia, I lived in the Canyon Lake area. I went to school at Texas State in San Marcos, spent a lot of time all around, the Central Texas area. But y'all, I'm a country girl. I grew up on a farm. When I moved into my first apartment that I thought I was going to love, I did not. I very rapidly wanted to find a place back in the country and ended up in the Canyon Lake area, which I loved it there. But, life changes and transitions. And at the time, in 2013, my husband Blaze passed away in a car accident. And that's what transitioned me to Utopia. My family had land out here, and it was the most healing, beautiful time for me to just kind of spend that period of my life figuring out who I was again outside of, grief and loss. And I fell in love with, who doesn't fall in love with that out here? Mm-hmm. You've got the hills and the beautiful crystal clear rivers. Mm-hmm. So, and then I just started making so many wonderful friends. I mean, these hills, there's a lot of hidden gems, meaning there's so many beautiful people that are just tucked back in these hills that I just really appreciated and loved. And it just really made me want to protect this area even more, our pristine rivers and just the beauty that we share out here. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. Someone, I think, I don't know if I mentioned this before in another podcast that we did, but either someone said it or I read it somewhere, but it always stuck with me. And they said, we don't own this land. We're just stewards of it until we pass it down to the next generation. And I thought that just stuck with me because, like, if you see it from that perspective, then I started seeing it from that perspective, and I had a shift in how I saw the land, and what can I do as far as what's in my power that I can do to continue the legacy of this beautiful area that we live in, and trying to preserve it. That way the generations to come after us will be able to enjoy it just like we have.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of, that's basically what you're trying to do and how you take your approach with your business. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I feel like it's all about education. You hit the nail on the head when you said about preserving it for future generations. We're so lucky to experience this place and the time that we are. There is a lot of development coming. We are on the radar, where it used to be a hidden little sleepy towns. People, they want to come out here and they want to experience this time. And that's where it becomes so important, is to educate people on various resources and things that we can do, so that way we can continue to preserve that for future generations.
Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that people can't build a house or something out here. There's ways to do it where you can, I guess, have conservation on whenever you're building as part of the process, and taking that into consideration when you build. You were talking about that earlier because we just finished having lunch, and you mentioned something about that, building your. I guess you were talking about talking to developers and saying, do you recall the what
Absolutely.
You were saying?
Well, yeah,
I don't want to chop it up, but I'm trying to remember. But
no, definitely, it's just about being mindful whenever you're out in these, areas with so many precious resources. I mean, as we've all experienced over the last year or several years, this extreme drought. Well, we have a water problem. Everybody understands we have a water problem. Everybody kind of wants to stick their heads in the sand and not, talk about it. But we do have severe drought problems. And with those, and we have also years that were super wet, but we just have this happy medium, right? So we have to take into account all of these years that we experience these severe droughts. And I feel like as developers come out, it's just being, mindful of our resources and, implementing the infrastructure in order to be more sustainable. And why not be the spearheads that are doing more rainwater catchment systems? Because I know people are like, oh, well, rainwater. It's like, no, you get a lot of rainwater, in a tank for a little amount of rain. You can really fill a lot of tanks with it. So even the scarcity of rain, you can still be sustainable with that. My home is on a rainwater system, and we've sustained and weathered the droughts. Also I know that Leah's been super involved in dark skies. I think that's so important for our area, because we are a bubble in Central Texas that you still have dark skies. And I feel like as developers and people come in, it's just important to educate them about light shield. I'm not saying don't put up lights. Everybody wants lights in their houses. Everybody needs water. I'm not crazy. Don't, build infrastructure. Of course, build infrastructure, but there's ways to do it mindfully and to do it to where there's just it's not as harmful to the area, and where we can all live and enjoy it and not be depleting it.
Right. Yeah, Dark Skies is one of those resources that we do hire that most people will probably not think of when you say resource. But we had a really good podcast on that with Dawn Davies.
I listened.
Yeah, she was
I
awesome.
love her.
She is awesome. But yeah, if you're listening, go back and check out the podcast with Dawn Davies, and we talk a lot about Dark Skies and her work, her conservation work with
Hill Country Alliance.
Hill Country Alliance, yeah.
Well, and that's a thing, I think people need to just really look at Hill Country Alliance. There's so many awesome resources that they have for so many different things across the board for, not only the Hill Country, but all the outlying areas. So check them out. And I have a bunch of information in Utopia at my little store from Hill Country Alliance. Yeah. So if anybody wants some info, come get it.
That's the one thing that Leah, when she first met you, she was like blown, like her mind was blown, like this girl, Jada Jo, she's on top of it. She's not only has a real estate business, but I'll let you.
Yeah.
Remember when you first met her?
Yeah. I had heard your name through my friend Tessa because of your rainwater system. And she was like, we need to go and meet with her and learn about this because we have our gardens and we love gardening, but like we're using water to water our gardens. And so we need to meet with her. And then when I went to Noah's to go get my acupuncture and you were there and I was like, you're this girl that I need to meet. And then, so I knew about the rainwater stuff, but then I didn't know, beyond that. So it was so exciting to see your office, which is also a boutique, but to see all your flyers and the information that you have. And I was just super excited about that because, like you said, education is so important. And there's so much that you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. And we didn't know anything about light pollution until we moved out here. And then we started learning about dark skies. We started learning about light pollution. We started learning about easy ways to be able to help. And you provide a lot of that information to the people who happen to wander into your store, into your office. So I was really excited about that. You mentioned education. What other how do you combine beyond just education with flyers? How do you combine what you do for a living with real estate with your efforts in stewardship?
Well, I think it's just, as I communicate with people, I do want to do a little bit more when it comes to education, maybe start providing at the space that I have in Utopia, having people come in and talk about native plants. I partnered with Native American Seed. I carry all their seeds in the store now, which is kind of funny because that goes back to my childhood on the farm. My dad and Bill Neiman have been friends for 50 plus years. And so, I'd known the family forever and I love them. Their son is the one who put my rainwater tank system in. I mean, it's this whole interconnected, like-minded people. But that's why the boutique in the space is only to lure people in so I can start talking about conservation and show them all the pamphlets and, native seeds.
I love that. The Trojan horse.
I do want to highlight that bit because that's what I was talking about. You have a brilliant concept with that and how you do that. Do you mind sharing how you have the boutique in, combination with the real estate business?
Yeah. Well, I feel like who wants to go into a real estate office? People are so intimidated by realtors. They think that they're just all trying to just sell something. So I wanted to make people feel more comfortable. And what better way than to make people feel more comfortable than to have, beautiful items. And actually the items that I have in there are most of my friends, have made them or are affiliated with someone who has made them. So a lot of them are artisan products. But I just wanted it to be a more comfortable setting to where people weren't feeling like I was just trying to sell them a property.
Yeah. And then you have your now is if I remember you telling me correctly, is like, do you have your realtors? They each take a shift or something. How does that work? Or
Well, right
are the
now,
people in the boutique or?
Well, it's been kind of weird, especially for, y'all know out here, everything's so seasonal. Mm-hmm. So literally for the winter, I haven't even had the boutique open. It's been pretty much just I'll run in there if I need to do something. But starting March 1st, I'm going to be hosting the store open Wednesdays and Thursdays. My mom's going to be there on Fridays and Saturdays. Those are going to kind of be our days until we figure something else out. We had tried to do a concept of some of my other agents helping host the space open, but it's so hard because everybody gets busy and they can't dictate. Real estate is one of those businesses that it's like, you don't know your schedule. I could have nothing to do today, and then tomorrow I have 15 properties to show in Dripping Springs. It's like, so you end up all over the place. So it was too hard for me to pinpoint down times for them all and then make sure that it was sustainable and that it was constantly open, because it's all about consistency. And I have not been consistent with the hours. So we're really trying to make the spring, summer season have a time frame to be able to have consistency.
Yeah, it's one thing about being a realtor. You're kind of, whenever the customers or potential buyers are, I don't know, do you call them buyers or customers?
Clients.
The client, sorry.
Most of the time, clients.
I don't know terminology. So feel free to correct me.
So you just mentioned your mom, and that's one of the notes that I have is when we were talking at lunch, you were talking about how this is very much a family business. And that's also by design, that you don't want to grow and be huge and massive, but you're intentionally keeping things family oriented.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my whole vision and philosophy, is for it to feel family oriented. I want everyone to feel like my family's literally taking care of yours. My mom was the first person who joined me 10 years ago when I got my broker's license. She was so excited. She ran out and got her agent's license. And then it was just her and I for many years. And every agent that is affiliated with my company is somebody that I know. It's somebody that's been a friend of mine, that we align with our values and morals. I'm not a brokerage that I just want to put up an ad and, bring as many agents as possible. I know a lot of people want to do that because brokers make a percentage off of every single sale an agent makes. But I would rather have, the quality of people over just making a buck. It's way more important to me that everybody feels comfortable. I know that we talked about earlier that real estate's emotional. It's not just like a big monetary investment. It is super emotional. And to me, it's so important to have people that are genuinely compassionate and caring and that can help people through those layers of emotions throughout an entire transaction, rather than just trying to get to the finish line to make some money. It's all about, sure, everybody loves making money. I like making money too, but my priority is not that. My priority is the quality of the product that we provide to you. Because if you're happy, you're going to keep coming back to, have my family take care of you every time you want to buy real estate. So it's a relationship.
Definitely. I just love the fact that, and you brought this up earlier, but again, right now, that your mom went out whenever you got your broker's license. She's like,
she was on it.
All super supportive.
Well, from the beginning, she wanted me to be a realtor. When I was in college, and who knows what they want to be. That's why I think it's so funny. It's like you graduate high school and all of a sudden you're supposed to just decide what you're going to be for the rest of your life. And most people that I know in my 40s were still like, what do we want to be? Yeah. But she was so supportive from the beginning. My family always has been. And, it was just really kind of awesome to watch it take off with just her and I for, the years that it was, until the last 3 years it's blossomed into there's 10 of us now. And we're kind of placed strategically around Central Texas. I've got 2 agents in Austin. There's 2 of us that are in Utopia. There's a couple out of Uvalde, Hondo. I have one in Bernie. So we're just kind of all placed out there to go wherever anybody needs us to go.
Nice.
And my husband does all of my marketing.
Oh, yeah,
Like he's a film director, is what he trained to be. And then I moved him out into the middle of nowhere. Whenever he married me, I was like, I can't live in the city. You have to come live with me in Vanderpool. So he does all of our photography and videos for the company, keeps up with my website. So I have to give him credit for the actual beauty side of Orange Blossom Real Estate.
So you do whenever you have a listing, I guess you make a YouTube video on it or a video on every listing, and
Pretty
he's
much.
the one who does that.
And he does that. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He's the one who goes out and he films them, edits them, puts them together, makes them beautiful with music, and does the whole thing. And then we get to share it for everybody to say, "Oh, Jada, how beautiful!" And I'm like, "Well, that's actually Reed."
He's your secret sauce.
Totally, he is my secret sauce. I'm just super lucky. A lot of people would pay a ton of money for what I get, in our home. I hear Luna.
Okay, there goes
Luna. There she goes. I swear earlier when we first started, I thought I heard her crying already. I guess it's that phantom crying. I heard her crying. She wasn't.
It's the mom thing. I get it,
I was going to ask you, so everyone in your family has a job. What about your daughter?
She is my assistant. Totally my assistant.
Your 3-year-old assistant?
Yeah. Well, and from the time that she was born, I really feel like the business, I'd always been consistently busy or enough to sustain my own life, right? But over the last 3 years, I feel like when she was born, and you'll know as a mom, like I just had this whole other fire that was lit inside of me, like to provide and to just be the best I can be, to give her something to be proud of. And so from the beginning of her life, she's been going to show properties with me. She tells everybody I go show houses. Like she's got the personality for it. So it's like, I hope one day, I don't know, whatever she wants to be in life, but if I could provide something to her that, she can benefit from in the future, that's what it's all about.
There's something that I've noticed out here in this area with the children who are growing up in their family's business. That's really common out here because a lot of us, there's not a whole lot of jobs. So to survive, you have to be a small business owner. And I've noticed all of these children that are growing up with their parents as entrepreneurs, the kids really take that on. Mm-hmm. Like even if they don't go in the same industry, like you can see the work ethic in these kids already and their people skills, their social skills. Like I think there's something really special there. And sounds like at 3 years old, she's already like
it really
showing
is
houses.
Well, and I joked about it like right after she was born, and I had gotten really busy, and I kind of joked and told everybody that I was just selling more houses and properties since she came along because she's so cute. Everybody wants to buy something.
Hey, that's the key. So hot tip for any aspiring realtors: take your kids,
use your kids,
use the children, exploit the child. Wow. Well, one thing, I'm going to take it way back when you were talking about when you first moved out here and you were just coming out here a lot to heal. And I think you can touch on this, is that to me, this area, it's sacred. It's beautiful and it's fun. And we all come out here for the summer, but like there's this sacred element out here that I think can get kind of covered up by the hype of the tourism and just the fun and summer and like rah, 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 yay. Like, I don't know. Can you talk about that?
No, I totally agree with that. No, I totally get it. So, my family acquired the property that I live on in Vanderpool in 2014, which, my husband that passed away in the car accident, Blaze, he died in 2013. So it was like this almost perfect timing for me to start spending this time here in this beautiful place. But that's what it was. It was so healing. I'd walk down to the river. We live on the Sabinal, and we have a spring that bubbles out of the side of the mountain. And I remember sitting on the edge of the river crying because I was thinking about how many people's lives were saved by walking across that spring back, in pioneer days, or even natives, roaming the land, that all of a sudden they came across fresh water. It's Utopia for a reason, right? It's so beautiful. And I know one of the, old timer stories that I heard was that Utopia, a gentleman came out and, said that the waters were so healing. Well, I truly believe that. I feel like I transitioned into a completely different person, probably life experiences, but also because so luckily I got to spend this period of my time through the darkest part of my life, through grief, in this beautiful area that just rejuvenated me. And not only that, but it'll go right back to the people that I met. I met so many amazing people that brought out things inside of me that I didn't even know existed. I got involved with the band, started singing with the band. I never sang a day in my life before. I was not the talented one. My brothers were, they were the artists and they were the musicians. But this whole area just brought something out in me that I didn't even know existed. And I don't want to go anywhere else. I think about vacations and I'm like, well, I live in Utopia. Where do I want to go on vacation?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat this area.
It is.
But I'm glad you brought up the playing in the band, because I was like, that's another hat you wear.
So many.
How did that get started, and where do you play? Or is it something that you do for often, or is it an occasion? Or
Well, it's really kind of funny. Like, it all started, we have a mutual friend, right, Travis, that does Utopia Fest. And one of the times that I was out here, and it was in, I would say probably summer 2014, I see a Facebook post and he said, if anybody's in the area that wants to come help shuck sodal, I'm looking for people to come help. Well, Farmer's Daughter, I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm going to go shuck whatever he's shucking, and
as one would.
Well, yeah, I know. Right. And then I show up. It's kind of funny because I show up out there. There's two dudes. It's him and this other dude, an older gentleman who's wearing this cowboy hat with like the skull and crossbones. And I'm like, my cell phone's not working. And I'm walking up here and I'm like, oh my God, Jada, did you just make the right decision? Like, I mean, you don't even know these people, And yeah, it was totally cool. They were so cool. They welcomed me right in and was like, let's get to shucking, which basically, sodal is a plant that grows on the side of the mountains out here. For any of y'all that may not know, it very much looks kind of agave-ish with a stick that grows out the center of it. But you can actually distill that into sodal, which is like a mezcal or a tequila. So out there helping them shuck the stuff at the place, a little hunter's shack that we called the Shuck Shack. And I'm standing there by myself doing it. And I see this truck drive by and they stop and reverse. And it was like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, hi, I'm Jada. And it ended up being my buddy Bowman that I ended up meeting his whole family. They are so musically inclined. They're just amazing musicians. But we were singing around campfires, just jamming out, doing our country thing. And he's like, hey, I'm going to go start jamming with this other guy named Joe. You want to join us? Like, I like the way that you sing. And we all like kind of that older school country kind of swing and blues. So between this country swing and blues, which is, it kind of all goes together. It was me, Joe, and Bo. And the three of us started our little trio. And we actually used to play out at the winery in Vanderpool. Every single Wednesday, we had a wine Wednesday. And we just played just to play. We've never played a gig for money. We just do it for fun. Yeah. It was just a jam. And now it's gotten to the point where our jams are about almost every Sunday. And we just do it at my buddy Joe's house. He has a trailer that he devoted completely to our music. And so
wow, that sounds like fun.
It's so much
check
fun.
Y'all out.
Yeah, you have to just come over and hang on our jam sometime.
Yeah, I love the blue. I like blues and class. I mean, I like everything, but yeah, when you get country and blues together, I love that.
Yeah, and that's our thing. We always joke about being this like jam band because it's just so many times they start playing the guitars and then it just goes on for 12 minutes or,
you just get
and I'll just shake my tambourine.
That sounds like,
but it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it soothes the soul.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It was like between the beauty of the area, the rivers, and then meeting all these amazing people and then bringing music into that. And then starting to go to different music shows and festivals. I loved going to festivals. And so it was just a lot of fun meeting all of these different people in this new life that I was creating.
Wow.
We always joke that like there's like all of the, like, I joke and I call ourselves hillbillies because we live in the hills, but like all of us hillbillies that like, there are so many interesting people tucked away in the hills that like you may not see them often, but every now and then they come into town and they're so unique and they're so interesting and they have so much to offer, but we're all just kind of like hiding out in the hills. Who is the most interesting person that you've met out here?
Okay.
Like just blew your mind interesting.
His name is David Canton. He's an amazing artist. If y'all haven't seen any of his artwork, it is so beautiful. They look like pictures. Like literally, it looks like a photograph. He is amazing. He lives in Utopia, and if you would meet him or pass him, you would never know that he's this phenomenal artist. He's just kind of a super humble, very quiet person, but his artwork literally blew my mind. The first time I met him at the Wine Wednesdays that we used to jam at. There was a whole group of Utopians that would come out there every week, and, we'd all bring potluck, and my little band played, and, we drink as much wine as possible and just have a good time. But he was one of the people that I met out here that I was just like blown away. And I had the pleasure of going to one of his art shows in San Antonio. And oh my gosh, this was probably 7 years ago. But it just blew my mind, like to see the caliber of his artwork. It's amazing. So he's really awesome.
Does he have his work at the gallery there in Utopia? Or is he not there?
I don't believe he, okay. I'm not sure if he does or not. But
I would love to see it.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
The Wine Wednesdays, y'all don't do those anymore?
No, but we need to.
That sounds like something we want to go to.
Yeah.
So I was actually
on a Wednesday too.
Yeah, I know. Well, I actually have the Sabinal River Winery up for sale right now. And I've actually been talking with the owner in the meantime before we find the perfect person that's going to take the venue over to start trying to implement some of those things again. Because I think it would just, help his business and, not only that, but the community. I loved it. It was so much fun. And the whole point of it was the potluck vibe. Nobody wants to buy food or, you wanted to just bring your own little dish and buy your bottle of wine and have fun with your friends. So I know I'm going to talk him, Chris, we're going to do this.
Yeah. Chris, if you're listening, we want to come to Wine Wednesday.
We want to meet you.
I love out here, there's so much of that feel, like that community vibe. They do it in Concan, a community dinner once a month, and it's potluck. And anybody who lives out here in Concan, they bring their dish. We meet at, we've only gone like once. It's been a while, but I love it. They meet at the old schoolhouse. Everybody brings their potluck dish and they have this community dinner. And I love that. And that y'all were doing that over there at the winery. And that is such a common denominator out here. It's just that community, strong sense of community. And Luna agrees with me.
Yes. No, I absolutely agree. Well, and just talking about one of the many reasons I loved it out here or found this, new life for myself was the community. I mean, I felt like I was accepted with open arms, and everybody that I met, there was no agenda. It was literally genuinely people care about you. And you just can't replace that. You can't get that anywhere else. I've lived in different places and I never had that kind of feeling like you get out here.
Yeah. We, when we got pregnant with Luna, the Concan Baptist Church, which we had gone to maybe once, they hosted a diaper drive for us, for Luna, and like threw a little diaper shower and all collected, diapers for, and we had gone to that church like one time and they did that for us. And it really is true when you say like, there's just, the people out here genuinely care about you, about other people. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah. And our neighbors on both sides of us, one on the north side of us, he helped us out so much in the beginning when we first got the property. He was here almost once a day, or it seemed like, because he was helping us fix something, and he's pretty hands-on and technical. So
I think he felt bad for us because our property was such a disaster that he was like, "Oh, these poor kids don't know what they got themselves
I gotta
into."
help them out.
Yeah, he helped us out so much. Him and his wife helped us out with one of the greenhouse. When before it was the greenhouse, it was like the trash house. It was the disaster house. I mean, it was
It was the burn it down and just haul it away house.
Take it. Take it for free type of condition. And they came in, they looked at it and they're like, oh, we think you can fix this.
We can do something with this.
Yeah. And they just started like ripping out the carpet right there and then. And the carpet was just like all the floor, there was a leak.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was just saturated with water. And they're like, oh, well, let's just start ripping it up. So they start ripping everything up. And I go and get trash bags and they're just throwing bags out full of just trash. And after we did that, I felt a lot better. And I just have never forgot that they, you know, if it wasn't for them, we probably would have got rid of that house. Yeah. And now it's like one of our most popular houses.
Well, and I feel like people out here, you know, country folks, they're so resourceful and they want to save and salvage anything that's salvageable. And so, and they're all like, you know, shirt off your back type people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just recently I experienced the same thing. You know, I had a 15-year-old dog. She's been with me through every life transition that I've had. She passed away 2 weeks ago. And, you know, one of my really good friends and neighbors that lives about 5 miles down the road, he drove his backhoe, drove it to my house to dig her a hole. And it's just like, you know, he didn't have to do that. I'm out there trying to hand dig, but he's like, no, we want to help you out. We, you know, animals are our family and let's take care of you. And it's just like that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm just bawling while he's sitting there, you know, using his backhoe, but it's like, he drove that to my house.
Yeah. Is this the same guy that you talked about earlier, the water?
Yeah. 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 I mean, Bill Kellner, y'all, he's amazing.
Shout out.
Those of y'all that know. Yeah. He's retired. He doesn't do it. Don't steal him from me. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. When you were saying, and the people out here, they salvage everything. That's our neighbor too. Mm-hmm. He goes to the Utopia recycling.
Oh, and digs through the junk pile.
He goes to the junk pile. He found the generator the other day, just last week, or was it like 4 days ago? And he's like, yeah, I was just came back from Utopia. I was like, what did you find? He's like, I got a generator. And I was like, you did? And he's like, yeah, I think it could power your house and ours. So let me know if y'all ever run out of electricity. And I think we can power y'all's house with ours and with this one generator.
That's awesome.
And he's like, and there's nothing wrong with it. I was there when the guy was throwing it and I asked him, hey, what's wrong with that generator? He's like, it's old. And he's like, that's it. And I was like, yeah, so he took it. So yeah, he's definitely a technical tinkering type guy and just pretty, it's very resourceful and good at repurposing things or bringing things back to life. So yeah, I appreciate him and yeah, he's such a good neighbor to us.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, the neighbors out here are priceless, really. So many people are just so kind and caring and genuine.
I love how like every now and then somebody shows up with like a bag of asparagus or, you know, whatever they happen to grow and they have extra. And then I'm like, well, we have some extra pears. Let me send you off with some pears. And I just like, it's great. And it's organic, you know, like you're getting this fresh food from your neighbor, from somebody down the street that they happen to grow a little too much and they share it with you. And I love that. That was one of the things I loved.
I imagine that's kind of the way it was back in the day. You know,
the barter and trade.
What they have, and you know, I have a lot of this, so you know, I can give you some of that, and vice versa. You know, a lot of bartering.
Well, and that's what I loved about growing up. You know, on my parents' farm. Whenever I was off at college, my, you know, money that I got was basically I would go back home to the farm. I would harvest whatever we had in season, which we actually had a citrus orchard. That's where, of course, Orange Blossom comes from. And so especially during citrus season, I had this little tiny car too. I would load that sucker down. I'd be like, you know, low riding all the way back to San Marcos, get pulled over. What are you hauling? Tangerines, you know? And they're like, yeah, right. And I'm like, no, really. But that was kind of how I made my living during my college years. And on top of that, that's how I got my food. So at the farmer's market, you know, I had all of my resources of other farmers and friends. And so I would trade, you know, hey, I'll give you this sack of tangerines for whatever you got. So it, sustained me through,
Wow.
school years.
That's so cool.
So it was a lot of fun.
Do you still grow? Do you grow stuff at your place?
I don't have anything growing. I should. My husband and I have been talking a lot about starting our own little farm, but my folks still do. My dad will farm until the day he is no longer with us. The man works so hard. The only thing that really is unfortunate, the weather that we had, the snowpocalypse, it pretty much killed our entire orchard. There's only about, I think, 10 trees left of what was like 75. So it was very devastating. And I didn't really realize it until last year because, it hit in January, February, whenever we got all that snow. And then the following year, citrus season starts November, is usually November through about January. I had no citrus for the first time in 40 years of my life. Wow. And I'm like, this is so weird. I've always just get citrus from my mom, and that you kind of take it for granted. I've never bought citrus at the store, because it doesn't taste good to me. But it was just kind of blew my mind. I don't have oranges or grapefruit or any of the things that I've had literally my whole life. Wow. The 10 trees that did survive, they're trying to rejuvenate, but they're basically growing back from, stock. But they'll be productive again one day. Yeah. Right now that my mom's getting, 5 or 6 grapefruit a year, as opposed to what we used to get, which was, boxes and boxes full. But, it's just crazy because we talk about, farming and resources and, just the environment in general. And it's crazy how this well-established orchard with one cold spell is gone. And it's almost humbling because it reminds you of, it's all at the mercy of the weather, or just like we were talking earlier, resources of the river, or, we're all living off the land and we're all connected from that land. So it's just, humbling to see that.
Yeah. And once you can see that, open your eyes to that, you begin to shift your mind and how you see things. And a lot of the way we do stuff is you realize how much we're doing it wrong. I say we, in general society. Yeah. Society. But there is hope. I know there's farmers out there that are doing regenerative farming. I heard a podcast with this guy from White Oak Pastures in Georgia, I believe. But his entire operation, he has chickens and pigs and cows, and is growing crops, and every single thing, 90s, probably almost 100% of everything is either used in some way or another. Nothing goes to waste.
Absolutely.
The fertilizer they make, for the cattle, they make leather stuff for the skin, nothing is wasted. And his so they did a little video showing how impactful, I think he's been doing it for 20 years. His soil, they compared it to how impactful the regenerative farming is to the soil, and keeping the quality of it up to, at a good quality from doing that. And they showed how when it rained one day, his neighbors, you can see it there, the line between him and his neighbor's property, because his neighbors, who's a does monocultural cropping, the runoff from his property and from his neighbor's property, it was extremely dirty coming from the neighbors, and his was clean because he doesn't use pesticides or anything like that. So it's just, and then in conjunction with using regenerative farming, she hit her head on the mic.
Baby.
Yeah, it's just that's an interesting concept, and I think there's more people who are getting on board with that part.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I have a client that's about to close on a property, and he owns a nonprofit, and the nonprofit is a regenerative farming. It's called Racias Vivas. And they, his whole philosophy is the regenerative farming. And that's what they're going to do with this piece of property that they're about to close on.
Is that out here?
No, it's actually in Whalder. It's in between Luling and, out kind of off the I-10 area. But, it's easier farming. The soil's better. Out here, it's so rocky. We tried to find him something out here just because I love him and I wanted him to live out here. But
like, come with us.
Yeah, exactly. But it's too hard with the rocks. It's really hard. You have to do, too many raised beds or something different because the soil here is just not really conducive to good farmland. But which is why my dad stays in Crystal City.
Yeah.
And my grandpa stays in We just had this conversation. We were out on the porch. You weren't in it. But I used to say to my grandpa when we would come out here for vacation, I'd be like, Papa, why did our ancestors see this and keep going and decide that Dilley, Texas, with all of its cactus and mesquite and flat land was the place to be? And he always said, it's the dirt. You can't farm that. It's the dirt. Okay, I get it. But come on, this is so beautiful.
So pretty here.
Who cares about food and survival? Let's look at how beautiful it is and survive off of the beauty.
Plus, I think there's probably other factors I wonder as well. Like, it wasn't probably as safe back then, to live in this area because it was, you had the Comanches this was their area and they were fighting with the people who were settling in the area. And, you have to be really tough to settle here back in the 1800s. I mean, but anyway, sorry.
No, most definitely. I was just talking about farmland and, how I feel like generationally we've grown away from that. Like we're looking for the aesthetics, the beautiful things that, when generations before us, they were thinking about practical, like what is going to make my family survive. But that's also what, where we've become a little bit detached because we all have grocery stores.
Yes.
We don't necessarily know, or I mean, I don't say we, but I mean like the general public of population, everybody just goes to the grocery store and gets whatever, not even thinking about like, where did this have to come from for it to even be here right now? So like an avocado, where did it come from? You're not having a bunch of avocados that are actually here. Everything is being imported. And they're all coming from a different region, which is not something that generations before us ever did. They all ate what was seasonal to them, the meats that came from their property, or, it was never it was always a resource thing. That's why they were looking for different types of properties than people now. Everybody now just wants something pretty, pretty water, pretty views,
I've never thought
money making.
Never thought about it that way, but you hit the nail on the head. Everyone's disconnected because back then when they used to think about where they were going to settle, they thought about what was most practical. And whereas now we see it, as more based off aesthetics. I never thought about that.
Which I feel like it circles back to like the start of the conversation with education of conservation and resources, because so many people, our generation and such, we grew up with running tap water. Where does it come from? No, we're just in the city water. Well, where does this city water come from? I mean, we are all connected. And I don't really think that people generally, and I'm not saying that, individually, of course we all do have these thoughts, but I think, the general consensus is people just don't really think about it. They just kind of take for granted that resource is there. And that's where we have to get better about educating and thinking of the bigger picture, especially as populations grow. A lot of these rural communities like we live that have not been populated at all are all of a sudden on the radar, and people want to come out here because it's so beautiful. But we have to be thinking about the bigger picture of the future. How are we going to sustain this so everybody can enjoy it and we don't end up, depleting our groundwater resources?
I think that is massive what you just said about protecting it so that others can enjoy it. Because I feel like sometimes in conversations about, land, stewarding the land or conservation, people can tend to be very like, what's the word? Like almost standoffish to the outside. We're protecting it for us, for those of us who live here, not for anyone else. But to me, that can be so selfish because this land belongs to all of us, not just those of us who choose to live out here. And every Texan has just as much right to enjoy Garner State Park and the Frio River as I do. I'm not more entitled to this area just because I live here than anyone else. But how can we share it in a way that makes it sustainable for the generations to come? Because that's where it can get really scary is, it's not being protected. The trash and the garbage and all of the pools going, all of the things that tourism contributes to can destroy the very thing that we love so much. So how can we share it with every other Texan, but also protect it? And that's like a very hard thing to do.
It's very hard to do.
No answer.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard to talk about too, because I feel like the skewed thought of conservation, like all of a sudden people are like, oh, you're a tree hugger, or you're, she doesn't want us to do labeling, when it's like, no, I'm not here to be a stickler about what you do with your property. I appreciate individual property rights. Like, I want my property to be my property. I don't want people to tell me what to do with it either. But as an accumulative community, we live in a very rare area that is completely unincorporated. None of our towns have a municipality. We don't have any type of rules or regulators. And so that's where we're in this weird bubble, because we're being targeted right now by developers. They want to come to our area because it's not incorporated, because we don't have any of these regulatory, there's no city regulations. There's no, rare that there's county regulations, groundwater districts. They don't have enough authority to do anything. Most of them don't have the authority to like shut things down. And so, we're just in a really unique position considering, the entire state, because we don't have any way to protect it unless we come together as a community.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, just like the Save the Sabinal campaigns, various things that pop up, it's so enlightening to me to watch. It doesn't matter, your political views, your religion, who you are, what you are, but everybody comes together when it's a time to preserve this land. And it's so beautiful to watch it, because, we don't have any regulatory people that can step in. We literally do it as grassroots community, which is that is so amazing to me in itself, that, let's everybody get together and have a talk and share an email. And, now we're all showing up to the meetings and
some of those, I guess, folks who head that up are like, keep Sabinal pristine. Was that one of them?
Well, so I actually started, and I run the Facebook. I don't even think I told y'all this earlier, but it was, it's called Sabinal Canyon Coalition, but I just started it to be a information resource page for the various things that were going on in the canyon. Because there are places like the Bandera Canyonlands Alliance and then of course Hill Country Alliance that are very much proactive when it comes to things in our area. But I felt like there was small little things that kept popping up. Like first it was this huge cell phone tower that they were trying to put right on the river that was like all of my neighbors' houses were in fall zones, and it was going to be a 360-foot cell phone tower literally right outside of everybody's back doors. And it's like, why? This is not even necessary. There's a cell phone tower literally 7 miles away. So that was the first time that I saw the community kind of come together and say, hey, no, we don't want this. Why don't you guys decide to share a cell phone tower instead of trying to build another one? Which was another thing that blew my mind. They're all in the business to build a cell phone tower.
Wow.
They're not even like thinking about sharing towers because they each want their own individual, when they all can put their antennas on a particular tower. You don't have to have. So, I mean, I may be digressing, but that was like the first thing that I was really involved in with a lot of other community members, was like, okay, we got to start. The development's coming in these different areas, and we just got to start being aware. And so that was the first thing that came on the radar that everybody was kind of aware of. And then, of course, recently we had 2 different camps. One was over in Tarpley, and one of them is in Vanderpool, that were trying to put wastewater treatment plants where they would dump their effluent into little tributaries, which were basically dry stream beds. But those dry stream beds go straight into one of the rivers, which, the one near Vanderpool was going to go right into the Sabinal, about 2 miles from the location that they were going to be, discharging the effluent. So it was just another win for the community to just come together grassroots. And it's so amazing to watch it and everybody kind of be on the same page. Like I was saying, no matter who you are, what you believe, this was all of the root that everybody came together to, kind of be a coalition and band together to save our communities, save the beauty of them.
Yeah, that's a good way to wrap it up. So folks, if anyone's interested in learning more about some of the initiatives that are being taken on, or I guess I wouldn't say battles, but maybe it kind of is, but yeah, there's the Bandera Canyon Alliance website. There's the I guess you have the Facebook page, Sabinal.
Yeah, and my Sabinal Canyon Coalition, like I will just post randomly like things that are like popping up. But yeah, Bandera Canyonlands Alliance and Hill Country Alliance, they are on top of it. Yeah. They keep up with all that stuff. If you're ever interested, you can like just get on their email list and you'll end up get a shout out of whatever their, the new thing is at the moment.
Another one is the Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance is another one that's also stays pretty active in that as well. So
yeah, and
we appreciate all those folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I have to say before we wrap it up, like my love of water not only comes from, growing up and enjoying and appreciating nature, but there was a woman, Sky Louie, that was the director of the Nueces River Authority. She was a dear friend of mine, and I promised her before she passed away that we would continue to be river warriors for her in her name. So got to keep up the good fight to keep this pristine waters that we all love and enjoy. Nobody wants them to get mucked up. We all want to share them with everybody. They're too beautiful not to.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. And yeah, I had the chance to meet Sky too for what talk she did several years ago, and we really lost.
Yeah, she was a river warrior, man.
Yeah, she really lost a really important person, and it's going to be hard to fill that void. But
yeah, her children are doing a good job, though.
Yeah, but I say we have a lot.
Well, she inspired so many people. Yeah. That's the thing, like her demeanor and her drive and her passion, it couldn't help but to spill over to everyone that had the privilege of knowing her. So, I feel like with Luna and Viola and all of our children to instill those kind of values in their minds, because they're going to help us change the world. Yeah, they really are.
Amen to that. Well, thank you so much for
taking
the time to do this. And we know you have, you're a mother, you're a business owner, and a wife, and a band member, and all the other.
The band's just fun.
So yeah, we know you're busy, so we just appreciate you taking the time.
I'm so grateful.
Not just come to the podcast, but have a meal with us and break bread with us. We really enjoyed it, and I know Leah has been looking forward to getting with you, and I can't wait to meet Reed too, and Viola, and
she's gonna love Luna. She's baby obsessed.
So all right, folks.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, I would love that. Let's do family podcast next time.
Definitely.
Viola would eat that up.
We'll have to get that in the books. Where can people find you if they want to, just talk to you or learn about the area or find some properties?
I love talking. So, so Instagram, you can hit me up on social media. Texas Landlady is my handle. And other than that, you can find me online. OrangeBlossomLand.com is my real estate website. Of course, Facebook's Jada Jo Smith. And then I've got all of the above, Texas Landlady and Orange Blossom Real Estate. So I'm the one who manages them all. So if anybody wants to know who does your stuff, nobody, I do it all. So when you message, you'll talk to me.
You're talking to me, a real person.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank you again.
Thank y'all.
And thank y'all for tuning in. And please like, subscribe, tell a friend, share the video, or send the podcast and leave us a thumbs up and a review. We appreciate that. So until the next one, hasta luego.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.